Good morning. This is John Checky. Welcome to YouTube. It is the 10th day of July. What are we going to talk about today? We just got back from Italy and we got to go from Dallas Fort Worth Airport to the Leonardo da Vinci Airport in Rome and spent 3 days in Rome at a lovely hotel called the Hive. Then, thanks to Firebird Tours, hired a driver to take us all the way down to Sorrento, about a 3.5 hour drive. Then in Sorrento, we stayed at the Bel Air Hotel, a 5-star hotel. Fabulous view of the Bay of Naples. And one thing we noticed both in Rome and in Sorrento, everybody seemed to be well coiffed, well dressed, well mannered. Not many people who had eaten too much and thus reflected it, meaning that folks seemed to be in relatively good shape, plus lots of energy, lots of curiosity, and many people were extravagantly helpful. Let's start from the very beginning of the trip, DFW. Number one, be sure to have your passport up to date. And if you're not feeling well, get well before you go. I don't think traveling and being sick at the same time is such a very good idea. Personally, have not experienced that in a while and much prefer not having that experience. Get plenty of rest the night before. Let's talk about packing for just a second. My darling wife is a champ at packing, even though she's stylish, even though she's amazingly well made up, well coiffed human being. She decided not to take a whole bunch of necklaces or bracelets. We both wore simple, inexpensive watches, simple, less expensive wedding rings. We both have at least 2 wedding rings, just for traveling purposes. Why is that? Well, kind of want to be on guard rather than flashy when it comes to travel. Let's get back to packing for just a second. Sadly, I packed way too many pairs of long pants. Underscore that. Both in Rome and Sorrento, the sun was shining. Didn't get to see any rain, which was fantastic. And it was warm. It was late May, early June. And even though theoretically the temperature in Fahrenheit was only in the 70s, the sun shined brightly. Got a wonderful Mediterranean tan, as I did. My wife wore several big hats, one at a time. But what happened? Well, number one, it was very easy to get overheated. So staying properly hydrated, a very fancy word for drink plenty of water. In addition to that, when you drink plenty of water, when you have white hair and a white mustache, you commonly want to make sure you can find a restroom. Let's get back to the flight for just a second. One, pack a lot less than you think you need. 2, if you can manage it, just take a carry-on rather than check a bag. That's a wonderful idea. If you do carry-on, try and book an airplane that has plenty of overhead space. You're restricted to 1 carry-on plus 1 personal item. For ladies, that could be a purse, but Susie stretched it to also include kind of a duffel bag. I took a Genius Network backpack and way too many, like I said, pants. Put the overheads in, got through the line in terms of passport in the international terminal of DFW, Dallas Fort Worth Airport. Flying colors, no worries with that. Got on the airplane. It's a larger airplane with rows in the middle, rows on either side. Found where we're sitting, seat number 20, C and D, I think it was. A window and an aisle. Nope, it was an aisle and a middle seat. So what did we do? We settled in. took a big deep breath, and we were so happy to notice they had screens so you could actually watch movies. Now, any of you who are much more curious on airplane flights can read, sleep, what have you. We watched movies. We had a wonderful time watching movies. Helpful hint on flying. We took American Airlines. I highly recommend bringing your own food because the food was not that amazing in the economy part of the airplane, which is a nice way of saying it was full of starch, not very energizing. They did serve free wine or liquor, and that was lovely. However, I'm going to highly recommend carrying your own food, particularly on the way back. But way there, took the flight. It was only 10 and a half hours. Arrived at the FCO airport and went through customs, going through customs. Head shake. Take your passport, put it on this flat screen. Theoretically, it reads it just like that. Take a look at the eyeball scanner to make sure it matches. And eventually it does. Then you go through that. And for the first time, as I can remember, it seems our bags got through luggage quicker than we got to pick them up. So that was exciting. However, we had 6 bags, 2 big suitcases, which we checked, which came through with flying colors, 2 carry-ons, and 2 personal items. So we rolled those, found the fellow with an 8x10 checky written on it. We met him. Luigi was his name. And we walked 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 about 1.7 kilometers, which is a lot farther than my wife wanted to walk to get in a car. So it takes a while to get in from where the airplane lets you off to the airport to customs and then finally to get ground transportation out of there. If you're slightly more adventurous, you might want to take a train. There's some high-speed trains that do go straight from the airport to the termini, which is very centrally located. The termini is Italian for train station. Pick up some phrases in Italian, that is language. When my wife would say something in Italian, people would smile, laugh a little bit, and then answer her back in English most of the time. We did not find understanding English universal in either Rome or in Sorrento. So I highly recommend picking up some phrases. So 1, pack less than you need. 2, make sure your passport is up to date. 3, be healthy. 4, bring food with you. Take food on the airplane. 5, in advance, consider carefully what you want to see wherever you are going. There are lots of tours available. The hotel, the Hive, was a lovely place to stay. It had a wonderful breakfast, a lovely dinner. There were restaurants all in that particular area as well. Highly recommend the Hive in terms of a hotel that's actually in the central part of Rome, within walking distance of the Spanish Steps or the Colosseum or the amazing Trevi Fountain. Another thing we discovered, there are lots of taxis in Rome. And how on earth did I discover that? Well, my darling wife has some hip issues at this point, for which she's getting some treatment. That being the case, she is also inclined to be a good sport, walking where we're going. And I was a good sport and called a taxi cab back for her. So plan on doing a lot of walking. If you can't do a lot of walking, plan on taking cabs. If you want to hire a driver, it is fabulously expensive to take tours that way, but there are tours available both in Rome and Sorrento. We did get to see the Spanish Steps and the Trevi Fountain. Nice observation, thanks to Susie. Right next to the Trevi Fountain, there's a place called the Upstairs Bar. If you go to the Upstairs Bar, which is about 3 flights up, they have an elevator. You can just take a peek 3 floors up at the Trevi Fountain. Very nice people, friendly people, great wait staff. and they even treated us to a shot of limoncello. Also, commonly at restaurants, at the end of the meal, they serve you an aperitivo, which commonly is limoncello. In Sorrento, we roamed around. Susie bought a couple of hats. We enjoyed the beautiful clear water. One of us went scuba diving. The food there was fantastic. Highly recommend the tomatoes. They were so fresh and succulent and sweet. To summarize, plan your trip in advance if all humanly possible. Learn some Italian. Underpack. Pack some food on the way there and on the way back, particularly. And if you take American Airlines, realize that American Airlines is no big thing when it comes to being in Rome. You might want to check out a couple other airplane lines or airlines to see who commonly flies to Rome. This is John Checky. This is installment 1 of Helpful Hints on Traveling to Italy.